All right, so we've got to know our data a little bit by doing some simple summary statistics and adding some things up. So now we're going to put the data into categories to get to understand a little bit more what's going on. So I'm going to start out by categorizing all the data, and then we're going to fill in the answers to the questions. So the first thing is a classification. So if we scroll down a little bit in our file, we can see that all the locations have been classified into categories: utilities, gas, eating out, wants. So we have a bunch of different data here, so we can put a classification on each of our items based on the description, or what we also called the location. So here all I'm going to do is a VLOOKUP. So I want to look up the description, and I want to do it over here in this table. So I want to take what it is, look it up in the first column, and return the value in the second column. So Comcast is a utility. If we copy down one, 7-Eleven is where you buy some gas. All right, so let's start there, and I'm going to work my way across. So now I want to know the month, and let's make a little bit more room. So we're going to say the month. Well, we just use the month function, put that on the date, and it's going to tell us that that occurred in month 10, which would be October. We can do the same thing with the year function. Year of the date tells us that that is 2019. So we're setting up our data right now to be able to analyze it across months, across years, across types of purchases that we're doing. We also want to do days of the week. So here we can do the weekday function, again, on our date. So these are nice functions to know that are out there. That way you can use them in the future. Now, weekday is helpful, but it's not as much as we would like many times, right? We see that it's weekday number 2. And depending on where you are in the world, weekday number 2 could be Monday, it could be Tuesday, depending on whether the weekend is at the beginning or the end of the week or at both ends. So in this case, it means 2 is for Monday. So I've looked that up ahead of time to make sure that that's correct. And so now we're going to make some room, and we're going to just do another VLOOKUP. So we're going to look up that 2 in our table over here to get our answer that that is a Monday. All right, we have all our formulas filled out. Since we have them all filled out, I can select across, Control-Shift down took me to the bottom, and now I can use Control-D to fill those formulas all the way down. Now that we have everything classified, let's answer some questions. So the first question is, how many categories are there? Well, this is where that unique function can come in handy again. So let's do our unique function, and we're just going to do our array of classifications. So we run that. So we don't see exactly how many of those there are, but let's just do a quick count A on our array. So again, we have to put that hashtag at the end to count the array, and we see that there are 12 items. Which category has the most transactions? Well, we have our list right here. So now we can just do a count if. So we're going to count if the main range of data we have is equal to our criteria. And again, since this is a dynamic array, we can use the hashtag at the end of it, and it's going to automatically fill down for each of those unique elements. So we filled down across them, and visually looking, we can see gas is the most populated category. So gas occurs the most often. If we want to be a little fancier about it, we could just type gas and get the answer right. Or if we want to be fancy, we can do an XLOOKUP. So we're going to do an XLOOKUP for the maximum number in that table. And we're going to look that up in that column. And what we want returned is the values in the column next to it. So again, everything with hashtags, and it gives us that same value of gas. And again, a much more dynamic formula that's more useful in the future in making your models really flexible. All right, now we have some other questions. How many transactions occurred before a certain date? All right, so again, we can use a count ifs. So we're going to count ifs. What do we want to know? We want to know how many transactions occurred before a date. So we can select all of our transactions. We want to know the ones that are before a date, so less than or equal to, less than a date, and that start date is up here as one of our parameters. So let's select our parameter, hit enter, we get our 998. We also want to know how many occurred after a certain date. So I'm just going to copy that same formula down, and notice it dragged down the formula for me. All I need to just flip it to is greater than now. when I got 414. And so this is where I actually think I want a greater than or equal to. And that'll give me the right answer. So let's fit those both to greater than or equals to. All right, now we know how many are between certain dates. So now we got to flip things a little bit more. That's all right. We can adapt our formula. So we want to know less than or equal to the end date. But now we also want to know greater than or equal to that start date. So I'm just going to copy the range, flip it to greater than or equal to, change that to G3. And now we have the total number, but I wasn't very careful. That's not exactly what they asked for. But that's okay because we can adapt our formula very quickly. So we want to know how much was spent during that period. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my countifs to a sumifs. And the only thing that changes is now I need my sum range at the beginning. What do I want to add up? What I want to add up is this column here. So I add that in, and now I have my answer correct. It's not formatted right. I can do Control-Shift-4 if I want to make that a currency to make it look right. All right, so moving on. How much was spent across groceries? So again, this is going to be another one of our sumifs. So we want to sumif the amount. And then the criteria range, well, we want groceries. So we got to select the classifications, and then the classification we want is groceries, which is a parameter. So putting that in, we've got our answer. Now the same idea is going to apply to this next one. How much was spent in month 5? So let's just copy that formula and move it down. But now instead of classification, we want to drag that over to month, and we have month 5. We got our answer. So now we have month 5, but also in 2017. So we got to add one more criteria here. Our next criteria, we select the years and give it the criteria value. We get our answer. Last one, again, just a simple variant of the month. So now instead of month, we want to do Fridays. So let's drag across to the day of the week, and we've got our answer. So once you set these formulas up flexibly, then you can really just drag them around a little bit to very quickly get the answers and the information that you're looking for.